Hey guys, Jay Massey here, and welcome back to the channel. One of the things that happens when you're an entrepreneur is that you want to grow. Of course we do. We all want more revenue. We want it now. In fact, probably yesterday. Here's the challenge. There is such a thing as growing too fast. So, in this video, I share with you some advice that I was sharing with another one of our students on how to grow in some of the dangers and or pitfalls of growing too fast. If you like information like this, please hit that subscribe button and definitely hit that like button so we can find more quality entrepreneurs just like yourself. Preston, if you have time, I'd love to hear your view of the best strategies for rapid growth. My focus is now getting started, but I'm finding potential investors all the time. Yeah, okay, so let's have this conversation. I have no problem with this conversation. All right, so that everybody's on the same page. What Preston is asking me is like, look, here's what's happening. As I open my mouth and start talking to people about what I'm doing, more people go, hey, I got money. Can we do it together? Totally understood. It happens. Now, let me also say this. One of the things I absolutely appreciate about this business model, and the more seasoned you are in business, the more you will appreciate this too, is that you don't need other people's money to make it work. Now, some of you, and I get it. Some of you, you're trying to be savvy and you've heard all these things. Well, you could do this and I could raise this and structure this and that sounds all great. I hear you. I have done those things. And I'm not saying you can't do those things. What I am trying to be very clear about though, is that by doing those things, you introduce additional risk with each additional person that you are dealing with to your business. So what ends up happening is that your risk factor gets multiplied. What I mean by that, it actually gets, it's not even multiplication. You get the same network effect. What I mean by this is, yes, you add an investor. Sure, you add one investor and you square that by one to the first power, you're still one. It's not that big. But once you add a second, now you've got 4 times. And once you add a third, you're kind of getting close to 27 times, because you've got what ends up happening in the same way that a network becomes more valuable the more participants. Same thing happens when it comes to your deals. By introducing investors to your deals, your risk, because each one represents a risk, and each one represents a risk to the other as well as to the business. And the more and more complicated you make this business structure, the more expensive it is to protect the business from the investors, you from them from you, and you from the business. And I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying you don't need it. But because Preston has asked, I will answer the question some more. One, Preston, one of the best things to be focused on, and I need everybody to be focused on this, is that we're in a limited time window right now. And I don't mean that like, something flashing at the bottom of the screen, act now, because it's gone tomorrow. But there should be something flashing in the back of your head or in the screen in some way that says act now, because it will get harder. What I mean by this is every new opportunity is easiest at the beginning. California had a gold rush. It was easier at the beginning than it is today. There was a time where just having a website was like, ooh, that's all that was necessary. You just needed a website. And you had email open rates of 80, 90%. But you don't get that today. Why? Because everybody's putting you in spam. But for those who were present when email was new and this new thing, they made a very good living and building nice businesses that way. When Google AdWords was new, guess what? That was a new way to reach customers. And when that was new, you know who the number one spender on keywords was? It's a small little company by the name of Amazon. My point is, our opportunity is never going to get easier than it is today. That's the urgency you should feel. With that same urgency, you should be trying to grab as many locations as humanly possible. For that reason, I know there are many other people who are telling you that you can do short-term rentals using your property. I get it. If you already own the property, great, keep it. But what I am clearly trying to strive to tell people is stop buying property for now for the purpose of expanding your footprint for your business. Because this is a 3-phase business. Phase 1 is just learning to get 1 unit. But what Preston's specifically asking me about is phase 2. What are the ways to go out there and grow fast? You heard it said, get big fast. Well, here's how you do it. You stop buying property. You control the property. And I don't care what technique you use. You can use a lease. You can use a lease option. You can use a contract for deed. You can use all kinds of things. The majority of the time, though, the simplest, easiest thing to do is a lease, okay? Which is why that's what we talk about. It's what most of you can execute today. So focus on that. As we continue to move forward, you get to higher level strategies, and that's great. But as you go deeper into phase 2, you're going from 1 to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 to more units. What happens is that the business changes and you need to change with it. Instead of working in the business, you're working more on the business and making sure that your systems are tight and that ship can run all hours of the night, whether you're awake or asleep or in the country or not. So what does that mean? That means the next thing to make this thing grow fast is all of you who are mastermind students, you have access to what I like to call the dashboard. It is there. It's literally like 15 cards, each outlined with how to scale and build systems inside the business. Because Preston, here's the challenge. You can grow this business too quickly. And if you grow it too quickly without the correct systems, you will crash, period. But that's why we documented a process on how to build processes, period. So that you have the ability to put as many processes together as it's going to take to make yourself successful. And that's what we've given you so that you have it. But that's how you're going to get big fast, if you will. All right. Now, underneath all of that, though, before you can quote unquote get big fast, what you're going to have to do is decide that you want to be big. Everybody has a different definition of big, right? And typically I tell people, take what you used to earn in a year and start earning that on a monthly basis. And let's build a system capable of doing that. Most of you watching me right now, you can do that. Or if you haven't done it already, it's really simple and it won't even take you more than 10 or 15 units to make that happen. What's cool is that the systems that you have in place will allow and support way more units than that. All right. And the reason I say that what you want to do is expand your footprint and what you want to do is build your systems, because that thought process and that focus on your systems is what gives you the infrastructure. You've heard it said that you got to dig deep before you build high. You've heard about the bamboo being underground for 5 years and then overnight it shoots up big. I get all that, which is why I'm saying things like stop trying to buy property right now. Well, there are many reasons to not do that, but you focus on expanding your footprint, because when you expand your footprint, you can build your cash flow, your ROI, your internal rates of return, and your payback periods are always going to be faster this way than they would be if you were purchasing property at this particular moment in time. As you continue to do that, what happens if you're following the profit first model, what ends up happening is you build up this nice fat profit account. And as that profit account builds, you're going to need a place to store and hold that cash and that wealth, that income that you are building and setting to the side that you don't even need. And my point, Preston, is that this business model has a faster payback period than any business model I've seen, and it's been capable for more people than I have seen. And I've taught all kinds of strategies in the real estate field, and that's what has me so excited about it. But it comes with a hidden gem experience, because when you guys are ready to go do a 200 unit apartment complex or an 85 unit apartment complex or a 400 unit apartment complex, you will be judged more on your experience than necessarily your bank account or balance sheet. It's about the building and your experience. Tell me about the team, and if you haven't built one yet, it won't matter. It just won't matter how much money you have, and you will be able to do that through this. Okay, these are the things you should be focused on. So some of the ways that you can expand your footprint fast, well, you can expand your footprint fast by simply leasing furniture before you purchase the furniture. Now, let me be clear. Over time, you will likely purchase the furniture. Even if you do a lease, always find out what the buyout provisions are and make sure you're judging it on the full term, not only on just the cost of the lease, okay, and also, but also what the buyout provisions are, because that's going to become important down the road. You want to be able to own and control the business and your furnishings and all of these things, right? However, that's one of the major ways individuals have been able to expand their footprint faster. Instead of buying the furniture, lease it, so that way you can get more locations up quicker. Additionally, and it sounds it sounds funny, but this is part of the reason why NPP came into being, is to help people expand faster, because here's what I know happens. When you're in high season, nobody cares about the price. But when you're in low season, everybody gets nervous and going, I don't know if I want more of these. But that's the perfect time to be collecting more of these. And the reason you're feeling that nervousness is because you're like, I don't understand how the pricing in my business works to make sure that I can smooth out some of these bumpy things that are called low season. But if you're taught a systematic strategy on how that'll work, you'll get more units, i.e. also have better cash flow. Now, speaking of cash flow, here's another way to make sure that you can, again, get big fast. I have said, and I will say one more time, many of you, especially if you're using, depending on which platforms you're using, but if you are using like Airbnb, you should be requesting your payouts to go to PayPal. You're like, Jay, I don't use PayPal. Why do I need to do this? Because over time, what happens is that PayPal, based upon the volume of money you're running through the bank, okay, I didn't say leave it there at PayPal. I'm just saying that based upon the amount of money that you're running through PayPal, they will see your revenue, and then they have the ability to give you what is known as a working capital line. Actually, it's a working capital loan, not a line of credit. Now, there are other institutions that are also doing various forms of this, but most of you don't yet either A, have enough units, or B, have the right business structure to take advantage of it, but you can get there quickly. PayPal is just one of the fastest and actually one of the cheaper ones when it comes down to this type of financing. So, and because I know that becomes the next thing. It's like, cool, I got 5. How can I get more of these? Well, if you learn how to leverage your future revenue and future invoices properly, you have a shot at doing so, but you got to set yourself up from the right way from the beginning. When you're doing a lot of these things in conjunction together, what ends up happening, Preston, is that you realize quickly that you don't need the investor's capital. Now, you can take their capital, you can let them come along for the ride, but you won't need it at all. Okay. In fact, I keep repeating this over and over again because I don't want you guys to end up in a situation. Like I said, every investor you add ends up adding via the network effect that much more risk to your business. And it's your business. It's your source of income. This is your baby. And you keep adding more people to it. It feels like you're being smart, savvy, and all this other stuff. And that's fine until it's not. Because it's hard to protect yourselves. It's just more work. Okay? So I'm not saying don't use investors. I'm saying use them sparingly. It's kind of like salt, just the right amount, right? But not too many, right? And don't be afraid to go a little bit slower if that means you're building on your own. But also, that doesn't mean you did something bad if you did use investor capital. Just be smart about it, which is why in the blueprint, the basic phase 1 course, we go over, I think it's 7 different ways to work with investors under the financing section. that should also assist you, Preston. So I'm assuming you have the blueprint already. If not, go get it and watch those videos, because it will help you make sure that that's great. That's probably a much longer answer than you than you wanted, but because I get the question so much, it's like, it is what it is. So I wanted to make sure that we covered it. It's been fun talking to you guys today. Thanks for joining, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.